From that place, how am I gonna, it will be impossible for an answer to not show up. It will be impossible for you to not have some momentum. What is missing in our lives, because it's so hard for us to love ourselves. A mission I think we all have is to get better at loving ourselves. And so then when we start to do that, and then we're like, okay, let's say you don't want to get out of bed in the morning. Well, what would be more self-loving? Sleeping in or doing the thing? And so in a way, we kind of always are, in a way, loving part of ourselves, even if it's an addictive part of ourselves who's in a trauma loop, trying to find relief, trying to, in a way, subconsciously recreate an old trauma so that we can see it reverse itself and tell ourselves a different story, aka heal. So we get in that, in that perspective, we want to help that part of us, that traumatized part of us who's reacting. Okay. But see, then the rest of us is like, but now I can't do the thing. Now we can't do the thing. And so, the rest of us is like, no, this isn't self-love. So you're trying to just figure out what you're going to do. Oh, God, I hate that one. What am I going to do? It's like, it's such an awful space. I am really seriously not liking that question anymore.
What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Like 2020, that's like pretty much our theme. If you could put a speaker to our subconscious, like hook up some kind of like little speaker to all of our subconscious and then just blast it across the nation, we would just be like in 5-part harmony. What am I gonna do? Back to self-love. So how can we love the other part who's like, no, I want to get up? Then you get up, then you're mad at yourself for sleeping too late, or mad at yourself for not figuring out what to do, but then you still can't figure out what to do. You keep trying to ask the question, but you're never getting any answers because you're feeling so mad at yourself all the time. You're like, I gotta love myself more, and then you're mad at yourself because you're not feeling very much love for yourself. You're just mad, everything is just hard. That soup was good. One of the first things to do is to recognize how we are loving ourselves, what part of us we already are kind of going to bat for. And if we can lean into the sensation of that, it's like you're landing inside some recognition of yourself, that you're giving that self something. It's just like, instead of trying to do something different.
Okay, I gotta do something different. I gotta try something different. I gotta do something like...
Every difficult decision you're having to make right now, you in your life, it's always, I want to, what different thing could I do than what I'm doing now? That's all a decision is, right? It's like, well, there's this same thing I could do, or there's a different thing I could do. And sometimes when we're on that track of like, I need to do something different, we're still kind of at war with ourselves. Not so much think of doing something different, but more like changing the channel. Like, okay, yeah, you could change the channel to a different station. But let's say like all these stations you can get on one frequency. You can get, let's say you're on Apple Music. You have everything Apple Music has, but you don't have what Spotify has. Like, let's just say. We're trying to just keep going through Apple's library, and the feel of it is just like the same. We're coming from that Apple space. This is nothing to do with Apple. Matter of fact, I have Apple Music. Like, this is not a thing about that. But so how do we get to Spotify? That's the whole point here. Liking what you're seeing so far, pulverize the like button and subscribe. Appreciate it. Woohoo! Thinking about changing the channel to get into a place where we can make a good decision for ourselves and we can know what to do. And what happens when we're in the other channel? When we ask ourselves a question from how am I gonna, and there's frustration and stress, happening is there's a part of us on the inside who's like, no, I'm not on board with that. I'm not on board with that thing you want to do. Meanwhile, our brain is going, yeah, I want to try to do the thing. But our subconscious is saying, no, that is never going to happen. So we're like riding the brakes and pushing the gas at the same time. We're asking a question that deep down we're feeling we can't answer. From that position, from where we are sitting right now, we don't have that answer, and we can't have that answer. And this creates even more desperation. This creates that panic, like, oh no, and then I'm never gonna, right? And then the question itself becomes its own trigger. As soon as we go into how am I gonna, it's like, oh, it's actually, instead of triggering solutions, it's triggering lack, it's triggering fear. Yeah, that's the vicious cycle. It's like writer's block, but liver's block. Like, not a blocked liver, but a living person's block. Like, okay. It's like Abraham Hicks says, you can't get there from there, or we can't get there from here. And that there's a whole nother channel that we can access to get there. That channel is about a feeling of being better within ourselves. So when we change the channel, the how am I going to answer will evolve out of more of a new permission to be more yourself. That feeling is the energetic equivalent of the manifestation. It's like the first part of the thing. So we need that first part to be like swallowing without chewing, and we couldn't digest it, and then we'd choke. Oh, cat. Okay. He's gonna go out the window again. All right, you go out the window. Ready. I thought you were gonna stay. So this is like how gratitude works, right? Because when we feel like we have something, we feel open and happy and excited for that thing. And then we naturally will see opportunities. We'll be able to, I mean, you can talk about it on an energetic level, but on a practical, like, we manifest and we are a match to our energy, but that's really abstract. I think what that's basically boiling down to is we just see more stuff in our actual environment that's kind of always walking by us, but it's almost like our head is down and we can't see it. And so gratitude helps us raise our head in a way, and we can then be open to that person in the cafe who, is also left-handed. It happened. And, you start up a conversation, but maybe the apple meek didn't see them and wouldn't have started that conversation. You see what I'm saying? So you're more likely to, you feel good about yourself, and so there's less social inhibition. And there's more, like, you're actually scanning your environment for the thing you want, because you're not in doubt. You're not like, no, I'm never going to have it, so I'm going to block myself from, noticing it in my environment. Because if we don't think we can have it, it's kind of like irrelevant to notice it. This would just be torture. Where it's like, oh yeah, there's that, jacket I want and I can't get it. So, I mean, sometimes we, of course, do notice the things we don't want. Obviously, we'll miss opportunities when we feel that they're impossible and that we don't deserve them. So when we feel good about ourselves, our sense of worthiness comes up, and then we're more open to talking with the left-handed person in the cafe. And then so we feel more like our answer can come to us. Our how am I going to answer can come from that place. We feel worthy enough to get the how am I going to answer. We're not afraid that we can't do it, that it's going to be too overwhelming, that we can't accomplish that thing, that there's nobody there to help us, that we're always going to have to be alone trying to do everything. Those things start to calm down. Our how am I going to answer is going to show up more. Maybe it won't show up all in one answer. Maybe it's going to be little pieces at a time. One of the things that's making it harder right now, I think, with everybody is that there's a lot of unknowables. Like, there's no area of our life that isn't affected by, like, what's happening. Like, every single aspect of our life has a question mark on it, where there used to be like an exclamation point or a period. There's just like, it's just, I don't know. And that can create a lot of internal distress, and just over time, it just can become too much. So maybe that might be why also, if you're feeling stuck and you're on a how am I gonna, bender right now, maybe that's why. It's just like there's too many unknowns, and your nervous system is just like blew a gasket. It's like,
I don't know anything anymore. There's too many things.
And so it complicates things, because we have our own childhood limitations that we're overcoming and trying to work through now on top of a new thing. I wonder if the world is like a manifestation of our collective fed upness. Like just right now, just like everybody's fed up about limitations, not just what's being imposed upon us, but then what we say to ourselves after that happens. The conditioned limitations from, from our childhood, from rejection and being hurt. These kind of limitations that we're hitting, those ones that are sitting at the bottom of the barrel, connected to the you who's trying to emerge, who's trying to break free of that question. How am I gonna? Maybe you want something bigger than what that question answers. Maybe you want a different question. Maybe deep down inside, underneath the limiting you, once that is healed, maybe there's a part of you that's actually saying, you know what, I'm tired of just asking the scarcity question. I'm tired of asking a limiting question. I actually have a bigger question. Like this thing has hit a chord in all of us of like what matters. The pandy has hit a chord in us. What matters to us? We're kind of stripped bare and we're like, well, what's on a desert island? What would you have 3 things? What would you take? We're asking those kind of questions. What are the 3 most important things to me? Who's important in my life? Because I only have like limited social capabilities. Maybe money's scarce. You're like, what do I need to buy? What's the most important thing? And so we're all like stripped down to like really becoming hyper conscious of what matters to us. So maybe we hit bottom, that thing of like, this is what matters the most. Maybe we hit our 10-year-old self who knew what mattered most and was like, yeah. And we hit that and they're like,
yeah, that's what we're doing. We're not asking that question anymore that you usually ask, and I'm gonna have a temper tantrum inside your brain until you look at me and ask me what I want.
Like here's some ridiculous things we might be asking ourselves. Part of us might want to know. The survival us is like,
how am I gonna make money? How am I gonna find a boyfriend? How am I gonna find a place to live?
But what if the deep down you is like,
what's so interesting about the Fifth Harmonic? How do you build an eco toilet? What if I just slept 12 hours every day and made that my goal?
And then woke up feeling like, okay, I accomplished something because that was your goal. What if you're that tired that would feel really good? Like, what if these are the questions what if you're bored? What if you're freaking bored and you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired of living bored. And you're like, inner being is like, it's just itching to access Spotify is trust. It's going to require a tiny bit of trust and a lot of fed upness. If you have that combination, a little tiny bit of trust and a lot of fed upness, let's say coffee is fed up, it's just a little bit of sugar or milk, just a little bit, and it makes it so good, unless you like black coffee. Screw you, phone. I need to charge a phone. What if post-pandemic you is trying for a new question? Not just a new answer, but a new question altogether, or a new answer to that same question. When you ask that question, it would make sense that it feels really stuck and off because your center is saying don't answer that question until you do something else, or don't ask that question, ask a different one. It's waving the flag to direct you to a different frequency of question, which will lead you to a feeling of liking your life right now. Bear with me here, but that's what the feeling will lead you to. That's what that frequency will land you in. You don't have to love it. You don't have to be satisfied. You don't have to be completely like on board with your circumstances. Not saying that, but it'll change the powerlessness, I should say, more than liking your life right now. You'll feel less powerless in your life right now. And then that answer will have not only a solution, but a new level of confidence within you. So it's a whole nother level of answer. Is this making sense? Trust that, one, the universe doesn't want you to have to compromise between 2 unworkable solutions. Trust that the universe, infinite intelligence, wants you satisfied, wants you to feel satisfied in your life. wants you to have that sense of satisfaction with things, with yourself and with things. We're going to need to have the ability to withstand not knowing, the discomfort of not knowing. That's what it would take. The trust and being able to withstand that we don't necessarily know the whole plan, that there's going to be a little piece. It's a different way to move. It's a different way to get your how am I gonna, instead of logically thinking through it and going through all your options.
And watching webinar after webinar and taking notes and then pro and conning them and still coming up with I don't know.
I love this. I'm going to do this. So feel and step and feel and step. And the only way we'd be able to do that is with trust that the universe has our back. We're meant to be happy and satisfied. A. And then B, exercising that muscle of just moving when you don't know the whole plan and letting yourself be uncomfortable in it, because it's not going to feel super comfortable right out the gate. It's something that we have to strengthen. We have to train ourselves to be that way. We didn't grow up thinking this was any way to find answers to our life. Listen to your intuition, move in that direction. That's actually seen as being irresponsible or something, right? Like, no, you do what they say to do and when and for how long, and then you get up, grab your bag, and go study something else for 45 minutes. Even if you want to keep studying that, you can't. You got to get up and go do math. And so our creative process and our search for what makes us tick has been so interrupted, like endlessly interrupted. I remember even just really not liking to go to the dinner table when I was a kid, because I mean, I liked my family. It wasn't that. It was that I didn't want to interrupt what I was doing. I was doing something. I don't want to eat. I used to get in these things of like, I don't want to go. I'm not going to the table. And I had to go. But then you have to go to school and you're just herded around like cattle all day long. So of course we don't know how to move in this way. We don't know how to feel into what, that wouldn't work.
That's stupid. That's irresponsible. How are you going to get anything done?
But then we end up in a how am I gonna shitstorm, right? Because we can't trust we can't trust that system. So this is the system, trusting that the universe doesn't want us to suffer, and moving, feeling and going, and trusting that we're not going to have the whole plan, and maybe give yourselves a time frame to do that. So it doesn't feel so panicky. Okay, for 2 weeks, I'm going to try this. Listen, go buy the yarn. Listen, go take the nap. Listen, make a t-shirt. So in this, I don't know, in this way of listening and going, I think we're telling the universe a couple things. We're saying, I matter as a human. I get to be a human being. You get to be a human being. You get to matter as an individual. It's saying that your life is okay right now. You're not in a panic. Now that's big. That's big to land in that spot of like, oh my God, I'm not putting out a fire. Like, you have a way to get into that place of no fire when you say, I'm fed up enough and I'm trusting that the universe doesn't want me to suffer. So therefore, doing what really feels aligned should work out, should be supported. I don't think any of us are going to get a free pass like that. This is the we gotta surf this one. All the legends, you have to see something first in your mind before we have the hardcore proof of it. You know, and that forges inside this resilience to handle the challenges that come along with that thing. Shifting our reality, it really is going to take believing in something we can't see. There's no way around that. There's no way around that. I mean, try until you get fed up, and then there comes a time where you're like, okay, you know what? It's like getting on an escalator and then it starts to move. My cat, she would walk down the stairs And as soon as she would get to the bottom of the stairs, the door would magically open. Well, it's because I saw her going down the stairs, so I opened the door. But from her perspective, she was just like, I'm going outside. I'm just going outside. She didn't even meow. Just like, no, I'm gonna walk down the stairs. The door will open. We need to walk down the stairs and know that the door is gonna open. Be like Genesis. That's her name. And then the how am I gonna question, it is gonna come back, and we're gonna need to hold space for that part of ourselves who is scared and freaking out because they don't have the answer now. This is where your inner child just needs to be seen. It needs to be validated that it's okay to feel uncomfortable in this fear. And there might be a part of you that needs to be cried out, that needs you to see that it's angry, that it's scared, that it's fed up, that it's sad, that it's lonely, that's disappointed. I mean, that should come up in this process because you're not trying to solve your how am I gonna answer through an old way of just figuring something out. You have to really listen deeply into yourself. It might be scary to feel like you have permission to go for those dreams. That's where the limitation is going to bubble up to the surface. It's going to come up and you're going to see it and you're going to be able to look right at it. Maybe you'll see the pattern where it came from in your childhood. Maybe you'll identify what happened to you, what parent had you sort of feeling a certain way about yourself that's stuck inside your nervous system, in your body. And you get to now be there for that kid and let them move. Let them be seen finally by somebody. They want to be seen. They're holding on to that pattern because they want it to undo itself. They want it to reverse itself so they can tell themselves they're loved. So that old pattern, that old job, that old relationship, that old way of asking, how am I gonna, that isn't working anymore. It wants to be reversed so you can feel lovable. If that person is mean to you and then turns nice to you, let's say your parents were mean to you. So if you keep manifesting mean people, maybe it's because you're trying to see meanness turn into niceness because that's what you're really wanting mom or dad to do, and that will tell you that you're lovable. So maybe that one who was treated harshly needs to be treated with a lot of love instead of the coping strategy of the pattern, getting it somewhere else to try to reverse it, because the belief is still there, because it has to do with a past you. It's stuck inside, and it needs you to say, it needs us to say, to agree, yeah, I am lovable. So crying it out and just holding space for that part is a way to do that. It's a way to release that part's pattern. How would it feel if you knew that you would come up with a great plan for yourself? If all you had to do was listen and go and listen and go and not need to know the whole plan, and then hold space for that little you that is trying to get the love so that you can get onto Spotify. As long as that little one isn't feeling loved, they won't let you go to Spotify. They're basically holding the brakes. It's really important to get through to that part, to cry it out, to let that one feel through what's keeping that one stuck or feeling unloved. Listen, step, cry. We can make a movie and a book out of that. Does this make sense? So then you're on a new channel. It's about a feeling of being better within ourselves, and that feeling is the magnet to the answer in our environment. Remember, the universe doesn't want you to suffer, and it wants you satisfied. That it's a loving universe. The universe doesn't want you to compromise between two impossible solutions. Catch yourself 3 times a day. Catch yourself in a how am I gonna, and then instead of searching for the answer, listen into what would I need right now? If everything was taken care of, if I trust. And then do that. Hold that space for the part of you who wants to break down, who's trying to fall apart. And then from that place, how am I gonna, it will be impossible for an answer to not show up. It will be impossible for you to not have some momentum. So until next time, stay magical.